So, if you really want to know who someone is, do not look at their Instagram. Look at how they tip, because that's a moment that nobody's paying attention but the person who is making $6 an hour. So yeah, I worked 10 years in restaurants, and there's a huge folklore between the celebrities when they come in and they do not tip. We have great stories too, as for example, Post Malone walk into a bar, ask for a soda, the woman doesn't charge him, he leaves the restaurant $19,000 as a tip, or something ridiculous like that. That guy is literally an angel, right? And then there's the famous James Gordon happening where he got banned from a French restaurant in New York after belittling the staff and not
On
tipping.
his show last night, Gordon said he made a sarcastic, rude comment after his wife's order was wrong.
So let's talk about the real ones, right? So today I'm gonna talk about my experience and what famous peoples did I serve and how was my experience with them. And also let's talk about the folklore, because dude, there's a lot of stories about these people. And first let's start with the demons, and then we're gonna go to the saints. First, Kyle Jenner. So this didn't happen to me, but it was a widely circulated, video on Instagram and TikTok and all there is on social media, saying that Kyle Jenner used to come in and not address anyone in the restaurant. She would sit at a table, not talk to anyone, and her assistant would address the staff, tell them what she wanted, a refill, dessert, whatever, zero tip. Michael Jordan, the myth, the man. So while he was a great basketball player, you can see the instincts of Michael Jordan, showing that in situations like tipping, you can see how he really thinks, So there is this famous story about a restaurant, in New York, where the server had to be serving Michael Jordan and another famous player until 3 in the morning in the restaurant. They're drinking wine and bawling and smoking cigars and shit. And then when they left, they paid the bill and left the server $0. And the guy who was with him apparently tried to no, let's leave this man a little money, dude. He was here until 4 in the morning. What the fuck? And Michael Jordan was like, no. His tip is serving us. Come on, Michael. Serving you doesn't pay my bill, you asshole. But anyway, you can clearly see how Michael Jordan thinks about these things, because he's really on top of the food chain. And it's wild how he just snaps into a non-human attitude towards people that really needs it, So you can understand Michael Jordan makes millions per hour. And I think one story that can illustrate this to perfection is Bill Gates. When they discovered that Bill Gates was becoming the richest man on earth, they made a calculation. So apparently Bill Gates was earning so much money that per second he was making, I think, $500, right? Which means that if Bill Gates is walking around, drop his wallet on the floor, and in his wallet has $500, it's not worth it Bill Gates' times to bend over to pick up the wallet. It's better for him to just keep walking. So I think that applies the same thing to Michael Jordan, because dude, you're making millions per hour, thousands per second, right? What does it change for you to leave a correct tip when you know that's the system that it goes? You go to a 5-star restaurant and you think, those people there deserve $0. Not understandable at all. Now let's go to my personal experience, right? I did serve a couple famous people that did not, tip me. One of them was an OnlyFans famous bitch that even tried to walk out on the bill, and then I had to chase her down the road, and she didn't tip, which, is embarrassing. I made a video on this, it's on the channel, please check it out, the whole story. And then there is a famous soccer team from Brazil that came in and they stayed till 2 in the morning drinking wine, the coach and shit. And we had closed the restaurant and everything, and they didn't leave any tip, Famous soccer team from Brazil, and that's very embarrassing. Let's go to the man, guys, the one who tips. First I want to open with the famous Shaq. famous Shaquille O'Neal came into an Italian restaurant that I work at and was the nicest guy you can ever meet. And also he asked, how many servers in the house? When I told them we work in 7 servers that night, he left, $1,500. And each of us walk out with extra $300 that night. Shampoo. So I did serve shampoo in a Brazilian steakhouse that I was working at. And he came in, was like, he did a show on Universal. As I'm working, my manager came up to me and like, yo, can you serve 20 top downstairs on the main room we have? Because it's closed, but I'm going to open to this guy. It's like, all right. When I get there, man, it's only black people and they're very well dressed. And I'm like, listen, I got to explain to everybody because they're all talking. I got to talk to you guys, please pay attention because I'm just going to say this once. And then this guy, which later I found out was Sean Paul, so like, listen, he's talking, let's hear this guy. And I started explaining how the house works and everything because it was like a buffet style, but then we bring steaks to the table. So there was a little explanation that I had to do if you haven't been to a Brazilian steakhouse where we bring the steaks over to the table, right? So he was a very nice guy. The moment, very educated, addressing me as if I was a real human being. And he just done a show, bro. He was at Universal doing a show. And I asked the guy, like, is that Sean Paul, man? He's like, yeah, man, that's them. Like, god damn. Very good guy. Left me $200 tip when I added the gratuity already. So there's like $120 in gratuity and he left me extra. So can you get mad at this guy? Hell no. Dana White. So people talk a lot of shit about Dana White not paying his fighters correctly. I don't really know about that, but as a tipper, he is a great tip. He left I think $400 on the night he came in with his son. Chill. It was a Mexican restaurant. He was very quiet. Walk in, ate it, addressed me very nice, and walk out. I don't know, man. Maybe it's just people talking shit about him because the way he acted was very gentlemanly. And then last one, Mark Cuban. I got served Mark Cuban back in 2017, I guess. I was doing a event in Windermere, Florida. And this was like a huge house, everybody was a millionaire and I'm bartending. So it was interesting about the story is like Mark Cuban, he's drinking a tequila like straight up. He's drinking a tequila Casa de Dragones, which is a very famous tequila, very high level. And then everybody keeps walking up to the bar and be like, yo, what's Mark Cuban drinking? Because I want what he's having. It's like, oh, he's drinking just tequila. So everybody changed to tequila, which was very interesting. How a billionaire can change people's choice, right? And I, pour whatever people drink. I had like 3 bottles. And I remember like this motherfucker is gonna come back in the end and ask for more. If I don't have it, I'm fucked, So I keep serving everybody. This is like 2 o'clock in the morning. People are leaving and he comes back to the bar. He's treating me very nice, He's a very gentleman, very tall guy as well. I think he's 6 something, right? And he goes, Daniel, can you, pour me another one, the last one, so I leave, And I remember that I look at him like, Mr. Cuban, I'm sorry, but everybody kept coming to the bar and asking me, what are you drinking? And I had to give it to them because everybody wanted to drink what Mark Cuban is drinking. And then he goes like, oh man, you didn't save any bottle for me? Damn. I was like, of course I did, Mr. Cuban. Then I pull it up, a less, closed bottle. And then he's like, man, that's the man. So he took like $600 out of his pocket and just gave it to me. Great job tonight, man. That's how you do it. So, that's how it went down. All these people, they tip, they don't tip. What do you think? Is this a good thing or a bad thing? To finish off, I would say this, there is a famous Muhammad Ali quote that he says, I don't trust anyone who mistreats a waiter because that means that if I was in that position, they would do the same thing to me as well. So I think that applies, it's a moment like, that nobody is looking, but the system, and that will explain everything about you. Because I'll say this, one of the most embarrassing, hurtful moments of working in restaurants is when it's a nice table and they apparently have money and it's a $10 tip or no tip at all when it should be like at least 50 or 100, So that will really change you and change the way you see, all these people. But anyway, leave your comments down below. Let me know what you think about these situations because they're very different, and they reach another level sometimes.